Hey guys, if you want to upgrade your firmware on your Ender 3 Max Neo, so there's a couple things that you need to actually be aware of, and certain procedures that you need to do. First off, you need to check your motherboard for the version number. You should be running version 4.2.2 with the GD32F303RET6 chip. The way that you get access to this is by taking your printer, putting it sideways, and taking off one of the rear panels. I believe it's the front panel right here. Once you get the actual number, make sure it's actually correct. Next, there is actually different displays for the printer as well. So you need to actually unhook the back of the display, unhook the cable, and take the 4 screws out and pop open the back. The back of it will actually show, here you go. So my version was the TJC, which will look very similar to this, TJC at that. There are other types of main or display boards that you need to be wary of, but essentially the most common is the DWIN. Anyway, most people also think, that they'll go grab the software from the actual creator's website, Creality. But this is not the actual one that you want. You want to get the actual firmware for your default printer that should ship with it from the crealitycloud.com. My printer shipped with 1.47G. That's what yours printer should be at. It might be slightly different, but this is where you can get it. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you have the default firmware that came either with your machine or something just in case if anything borks. So, next, there's a couple different other things that you need. So before you also start the process of updating your firmware, you should also take a look and make note of any of the settings that you have. So on my printer, these are my settings. Go on Reddit and go for AEA HMGs, Ender 3 Max Neo. This is a good starting. He has a good write-up, but there are some things that are missing. But this is where you want to go. First off, you want to go and actually go to MSARC Ender 3 Pro Firmware main repo, and you want to hit code and then download zip, extract that. Next, you want to go to special configuration repo. Again, click code, hit download zip. Now, you want to unzip that, and there's a couple of reasons what you need to do. Also, if you don't have the TJC display, or if it's having problems, there's a specific firmware that you also need, which you can find right here. When you get those, you want to extract that, and in your US or SD card, you want to format it to FAT32 4096 allocation size. The TJC underscore set, you want to have your TJC.tft, and then you also want to have the firmware which you'll be building. So once you get that, you extract the firmware, which is right here. We'll come back to that. Next, you'll need to have the special configurator, which you'll need to extract as well. You have to run Python. So for someone that doesn't not necessarily know how to do this, what you want to do is go CMD, and then you want to go CD, and then space, and then you want to take wherever your special configurator is at, drag that over. That'll have the actual where it's located on your machine, and click enter into the command prompt. Now you'll have that. Next, you want to go and input Python space, and then you want to copy the name of the configurator.pyw. And you want to go into the command prompt, Control V, hit enter. It should pop up like this. Now you'll have Ender 3 Max Neo. You want the 4.22 BL Touch. Remember my display is a TJC. Thermistor's T1. With mine, I have a speaker. I have MPC. Now, LA and IS are things that may or may not be available for your printer. It depends on production date. So it might give you problems, but you can try that out at a later time. If you want to hit auto and then generate. File generated, click OK. Now we'll have the actual one right here. This is your configuration file. Click on it. And what we want to do is close out of the CMD and the actual prompt. Next, you want to go back to your firmware. You want to go into Marlin on your firmware that you downloaded and extracted. You want to highlight version.h, configuration advanced.h, and configuration.h. And you want to hit copy, and you want to hit paste over on the release Marlin folder. Replace those. Next, you want to go to back into your main directory where you were just at before. Click in Marlin. Next, you want to go over to the configuration file. Right-click on platform.ini, hit copy, and then go over to your other folder and then paste. Now, replace destination file or a file, correct? Now, there's another thing you're going to need. You're going to need VS Code. You'll get the VS Code through just the website. It's Microsoft, and there's a couple different extensions you'll need. So when you go into it, you will basically come across here. What you want to do is go to extensions, and you want to type in Marlin, which should give you auto build Marlin, and you should also click on or type in platform IDE. Make sure that's installed. Next, you want to go back to where your folder is for your firmware, and you're going to actually compile it. So you want to right click, and when you install VS Code, it should come up with a open with code on a right click. Now, if it doesn't, you may have to import that in the file and new open folder. Okay, but we're just going to open it this way. Open code. Hit explore, and then we'll have it right here. So in here, you want to then make sure that it looks correct. And then you want to go back to your extensions, hit build show ABM panel. Now you want to hit your Creality. Right here's mine, which is the RE T6 CPU, and I had the 512. So you want to hit click on build, and it's going to run. It'll take a couple seconds to do, and it'll come up with the specific file that you want to copy. Now, when you get done, it'll actually say over here that it's done and all those other stuff, and it'll pop up a brand new window. And here's the firmware. you want to right click, copy, and put it to your thumb drive, which is right over here. So in this thumb drive that I have, which is the SD card, firmware and TJC set. And you want then take that to your printer. You want to upgrade your display first, then your main thing, your main printer. So on the back of your display, you'll actually have the SD card slot right there. You can then take your SD card card, you put it in there, and when you turn it on, it'll actually come to a white screen because in terms of like is uploading, and then it'll check the file, and then it says finish, and then you turn off the machine. Take this SD card slot out, put it in the front of the machine, and wait about like 20 seconds after you turn it on, and then you'll have a display bar go across. If you don't have a display bar, there may have been something wrong. You may then want to reflash back to your original OS or your other firmware, which is just copying your original back onto the SD card and deleting the firmware that you built and the TJC set. So here's my display board. You insert the SD card right here, and you click it down inside until it snaps. You plug back into your printer and you turn on the printer. It'll come up to a white screen saying initialize data, then it goes through a percentage, goes to 100, then checking data, 100%, upgrade successful. Once that's done, you turn off the printer, you disconnect the display, and you remove the SD card. Then you can just put your display back on. Make sure the cable is in the right orientation. Put your SD card into the printer, and then turn on the printer. And you'll want to wait about 20 seconds. It will then update. It will come up with a little bar and it'll update, and then you want to turn it off. Go ahead and put the backing back on your display and format your card. Save all the files, so if you had to do this again, you got the files.